Good morning everybody, and welcome to a quite spectacular morning here at Mabula Private Game Reserve. My name's Ben. On camera I've got BK, and we are enjoying this incredible scene in front of you. This golden glow as the sun is beginning to rise up over the horizon to the start of yet another spectacular day in Africa. I have no idea what we're going to look for today, if I'm honest, but we are really just going to appreciate our time here and find you a little bit of everything. Everybody, look what we've found. We've got a pair of secretary birds. Look at the way it's stamping, looking to disturb anything in the ground, doing the two-step. Oh, whatever it was just flew up. I don't know if you saw something there. I'm not sure what he was hunting, but that was very cool to see. But we do not see secretary birds in this area very often. Have spoken to a couple of the guides because we saw some briefly the other day, and they said that they haven't seen secretary bird here for ages. So we're very, very fortunate. Of course, specialized in taking snakes, and we saw a little bit of their hunting behavior there. They disturb with their feet, and then they jump up and stamp down on a snake or any other potential prey item to kind of stun it. And research has suggested they can stamp with a force of more than 5 times their own body weight, which is more than enough to stun that animal. But they'll eat a little bit of everything from insects to amphibians, reptiles, birds, eggs, mammals, rodents. They're very varied diet, but so very well known for snakes and even mongooses. So how fortunate are we? We found a pair of white rhinos in quite a heavily wooded area, which is a little bit unusual. We've seen a lot of rhinos out on the plains, but actually quite nice to see them wandering down the road towards us in a quite thicker area. Just trying to have a look if we've got... That one's definitely a boy on the left, so I'd imagine this is probably 2 young males, not yet big enough and old enough to establish their own territory, who are just hanging out together for a little bit of company. The way those heads held so low, sometimes even on the road you can see where they've scraped their muzzle along the sand with that big heavy head, and of course you can see that big ball of muscle at the base of the neck there above the shoulders, and when they put their head up to look around, that all bulges out, all the muscles contracting to lift that very, very heavy head. Great to see them plodding along, and looks like a starling in tow as well, taking advantage of any insects that are kicked up as these great beasts move through the grass. They're following a fairly established trail, so these game paths very important to the animals, particularly to territorial rhinos. They'll use these game paths very, very regularly, but it's just a path of least resistance, and they keep them open by constant foot traffic. It's not just the rhinos that use them, of course, but they are one of the largest animals. But everything from elephants down to little duikers will often forge a path through the bush via these game paths, and they will often lead either to water or a rhino midden. So it's an area that we would normally walk as well because there's less vegetation, but you must always be prepared that you may bump into an animal. Could even be a lion or a leopard utilizing that path, you never know. Okay, so it turns out this is a female who is wandering past, and she's lost her tail. So a female and a younger male. So I imagine this is a case of a sort of a surrogate mother, whilst that young male is getting big enough and strong enough to establish his own territory. But that's been a very, very special sighting. It was a lovely intimate moment. They stopped and watched us very carefully for a little while. Very, very cool. Look at this glorious raptor sitting atop his perch. This is a brown snake eagle, easy to recognize even from a distance. It's got quite an upright posture, Even from here you can see that it's got a bright yellow eye that's very diagnostic within the snake eagles, also the martial eagle, but that's very different in coloration. And you can see that the feathers do not go all the way down to the legs. You can see the bare skin there, which is a characteristic of what we call the true eagles. So the martial eagle would have feathers all the way down the leg. So if you see a bird with a large head, a yellow eye and unfeathered legs, that's brown in colour, there's a very good chance that it will be a brown snake eagle. Okay, this rather fantastically coloured creature with its face buried deep into this morning glory flower is a blister beetle. Now those black and yellow colours that it's got scream danger, what we call aposematic coloration, and for good reason. This insect can produce a very potent chemical called cantharidin, which is a type of acid, and it causes blistering to the skin, hence the name blister beetle. And it's been used medicinally in the 1950s in the Western world to help treat things like warts and verrucas, where it was applied to the skin, and it's such a potent cocktail of chemicals that it'll actually burn away those things that you don't want there, and should normally heal without any sort of scarring. So the cantharidin is a really good form of defense, and that bright color really says to any predator, here I am, you can see me, but you don't want to eat me. Interestingly, the males have a lot more cantharidin than the females, but when a male and female mates, the male actually passes a huge amount of cantharidin to the female, so that once she is gravid and once she has eggs, she is a lot more toxic. That will just assist in her survival options and give her a far better chance of actually being able to lay those eggs and increase the genetics. Okay, well, we've come to the end of another safari here on Mabula Private Game Reserve. I really hope you've enjoyed this morning. We've seen some very cool stuff from that wonderful sunrise, some interesting bugs and beetles and birds, and then what a special way to finish with those two rhinos getting up close and personal in a really intimate moment. That one actually felt like a really special sighting. So I hope you've enjoyed it. We will be out again very shortly, and please do tune in.